Hello and welcome back to our cottage garden. We have finally reached the end of January, which is really good. January feels like a very long and slow month, and it's a beautiful sunny day, 5 degrees today, so it's feeling really warm compared to these frosts that we've been having over the last few weeks. It's been fun around the village. We've been able to go ice skating on the fields and things, but in the garden it has meant that we haven't gotten out here very much. And when I have, I've come back into the house being so cold and uncomfortable, so I'm really looking forward to a little bit of sun now. I have managed to do a few things around the garden. I've been pruning the apple tree, still got 5 apple trees to go. I've finished pruning the roses, been weeding a little bit and just tidying up. So I'll show you those, but the frosts have been really beautiful, and I did come out and film some of it because it was just so lovely, but really hard to garden when the ground is that frozen. And I have also started seed sowing now as well. I'm going really slowly in these early months of the year because it's quite easy to get excited and get ahead of yourself, and then you just end up with loads of leggy seedlings. So the only thing that I have sown so far is my cup and saucer plants, and today I think I'll start my aubergines with you and show you how I'm going to grow those and what they're like. But it is really nice out here, and now it's sunny. Their hellebores are starting to pick back up again. They were looking a bit sad in the frosts, but there's a lot of colour around, and you can see next to me we've got a few more hellebore plants to add into the garden as well. These were funded by our Patreons, so thank you so much to those of you that have joined our Patreon. I was going to plant them out around the garden, but I think they look quite nice in these little pots sitting by the greenhouse, so I might actually just leave them here and add them to the garden when they're finished flowering. We'll see. But again, I'm not in a hurry to do anything. January is a nice month to take it easy, go slowly and just enjoy the things that pop up around the garden. I did have a few snowdrops to show you, but when I came up here with Silas, he tore the heads off them, so there aren't any snowdrops left. But hang in there, because I can see them popping up all over the garden in nice little bunches. So I think it will probably be my next garden tour. I'll have some nice snowdrops to show you. And then I will be able to do a more complete tour because there will be more to look at. And similarly, in our crocus lawn, I've blocked the dogs from the crocus lawn now. So I've put up a little trellis to stop them going on there. And you can see the shoots are emerging through the soil. So that will probably be late February that we start seeing those flower, and that will come around before you know it. So we do have a lot to look forward to. Just hang in there and enjoy the slowness of January and early February. But now it's time to get into a few of the jobs that I'll be working on. And first of all, I'm going to show you how I organise my seeds for the year. Here we are in our potting shed, and you're going to have to excuse the mess. It's a working shed, it's a mess, and I'm never going to get around to cleaning it. But I wanted to show you how I'm going to be organising my seeds for the year, and things I'm going to be changing as well. So at the moment I'm using this tower that my sister made for me, and it's in a disorganised state at the moment. It's just full of the seeds that I used last year and haven't reorganised. So what I do is I'll gather up all my seeds and I'll sit down and have a look through the months that they can be sowed in, and then I've got 2 drawers for each month, and then I'll just put the seeds in there so that there's sort of a calendar, and every time I come into the shed I can see what I've got that I can sow in that month, and I'll just use those 2 drawers. And then at the end of that month, if the seeds haven't been used or if I want to sow more, I'll just move them on into the next drawer until they reach the point when it's too late for them to be sowed. So it's kind of something that I will sit down and organise really well at the start of the year, and then have an ongoing process throughout the year to keep it going. And then obviously it gets to this chaotic stage at the end of the year where I need to sit down and go through it again and move everything back. But I think I do need something a little bit bigger because these drawers are a bit small, especially for things like peas and beans. So I'll probably move into more of a wallet system. And I have ordered a new batch of seeds for this year as well. So these are all of my old ones. I think I've got about 30 packets to add to this. So I'll bring it inside, get it nice and organised, and then next video I can show you where we're starting from. But I wanted to show you how I roughly keep on top of seed timings and things, because as you start to get into spring it feels like time just goes so quickly and it's really easy to lose track of things. So this is quite a good system, but if you do something like this, I'd say get bigger boxes if you're going to be keeping beans and peas in there. But I can still use this, I'll probably just take those out. We still haven't had our last frost here, so I'm not starting my seeds in the greenhouse or in the shed. I'm doing those in the house. But the things I've got in here are just overwintering seedlings from last year. So I've got my hollyhocks that I sowed last year, and they're still really tiny, but just keeping them out of the frost, and they seem to be quite happy in here. But I will show you how I'm sowing my seedlings in the house, and we can sow our first few. So I mentioned we're going to be sowing our seeds in the house, but I've just put together a little seed tray with some compost and vermiculite, and I've also got some vermiculite to scatter on the top. You'll notice that these trays are sort of falling apart. I do try and reuse these plastic things for as long as I possibly can before they get thrown away, just to get a good use out of them. But these are actually from our local garden centre. They have an area where they throw things away and you can take them if you want to. So they were on their last legs when we got them, but I think we'll get another year out of them yet. But it's just good to keep reusing things as long as you can, even if it does look a little bit broken. So let's take this in the house and I'll show you how I'm sowing the aubergines. So here we are in our dining room. If you watched our videos last year, you might remember that we incubated our ducks in here. It's just the space that we use for doing outdoor things inside. So it's quite calm in here at the moment. As we get closer to the last frost date, this will probably become a table of chaos. But I wanted to show you how I've got things set up before it gets too chaotic. I've got these 2 heated propagators that I use to start the seeds off, and they are called Garland Fab 4, and I found them to be really good. I used them last year as well. And then under this one, I've currently got my cup and saucer plants, which I'll just show you under there. We've got one that's successfully germinated, and then I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 others that are popping up and looking really good. I've also got this grow light, and these are new to me, but obviously it's quite dark in here, so it's something that's quite essential, I think. But I will start my seedlings on the heated propagator with the lid on and the lights, and then once they've germinated, I'll move them into a tray without a heated propagator, but they will still have lights. So I'm going to get another set of these just so I've got enough to cover the seedlings. And then after the last frost date, I will gradually acclimatise them to being outside by having them spend a few hours and then half a day and so on until we can move them up into the garden or the greenhouse or the polytunnel. But I'm only sowing cup and saucer plants and aubergines in January because I really don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I think if you end up getting overexcited and sowing things too early, you just create so much work for yourself trying to look after them in the house, when if you just wait a little bit and do it outside later, they'll catch up really quickly and they might even be stronger for it because they haven't been moved around so much. So patience is key. Is what I have to keep telling myself. But I'm going to be sowing some aubergines and just adding them to this propagator. And then in February, March kind of time is when I'll start my tomatoes and they can go on the second propagator. So this variety of aubergine is called Black Beauty, and I've grown it before, but I have found it quite difficult to know when the aubergines are ready without letting them go too seedy. So that's the challenge for me, but I really enjoyed growing them, so I would love to try again. It says to just surface sow these and then cover them with a bit of compost. I'm just going to use a bit of vermiculite, and I'm just going to put 2 or 3 in each tray. These are quite big seed trays really, but I'm just using what I've got. And I'm going to label these so I don't forget what they are, because right now it's fine. I'm only sowing 2 different things, growing 2 different things, but in a few weeks' time, as I've got more things here, it will get confusing. So I'm just using old food packaging for my plant labels, saves buying new plastic. Aubergine, Black Beauty. And then sometimes I would write the expected germination date on there as well, just so I know if something's gone wrong. So it says those will take 2 weeks, so I'm just going to put mid-Feb. Usually I find things are faster when you do them in a propagator, but just so you know when to start worrying. And then I'll just cover those with a little bit of vermiculite. Then I can add them to the propagator, and I will water them a little bit now just to keep the compost nice and damp, but these lids do retain the water really well, so I don't usually need to top them up until they're ready to come out of the propagator. So So there you go, it's a really snug fit, but everything goes in there really nicely. I really love sowing seeds inside this time of year because it gives you something to check on every time you come downstairs in the morning, and it's just something to look forward to, and it reminds you that there are better things to come in the garden and helps you get through this kind of slower time of year. So although it's good to pace yourself, it is really nice to have a couple of things on the go that you can check on and use those to get through this time. But thanks for watching, and here's a little insight into our seed sowing process before things get chaotic and the table gets completely covered. I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe if you'd like to follow our garden journey over the coming months and years.